The prayers had grown louder. Each time Claudius passed by the Capitoline steps, he saw them, those senators who paused, not just for formality, but almost a spectacle, heads bowed reverentially, their arms lifted to the heavens, and their voices cracked with devotion. But when their eyes lifted, it was not to the gods. They glanced sideways at one another. Rome's temples too were overcrowded. Every god ever invoked as a healer was besieged with incense and coin. Marble altars, once dry, now ran red with offerings. The devout knelt in the dust, barefoot. Even in the curia, prayers echoed, recited with clenched fists and averted eyes. Senators swore grand oaths that they would offer their own lives if only the gods would spare Caligula. Claudius sighed. When Tiberius died, Rome had not made such a fuss. Leaning heavily on his cane, Claudius lingered on the edge of these scenes, unnoticed, a man perpetually overlooked. He watched as tribunes wept with performative sorrow, as lictors pounded staffs to command silence, so the wailing of the Vestal virgins could echo through the stone. And all of this was for a princeps no one had seen for more than a month. Gaius Julius Caesar Germanicus, the emperor, still sick, still secluded, still silent, and still no one had seen Macro. They came in the middle of the day, a small group of senators visiting the emperor's uncle openly, at a time when none might accuse them of secrecy. At their head was Marcus Junius Silanus, the father of Caligula's first wife, and the man with the honor of casting the first vote in the Senate. Silanus had fared well during the reign of Tiberius. Not only had his influence played a crucial role in securing the consulship for his younger brother, Appius Silanus, but he had also successfully negotiated the return of his older brother, Decimus, from the exile imposed on him for his affair with Julilla, the granddaughter of Caesar Augustus. His daughter, Junia Claudilla, once betrothed to Drusus Caesar, had instead married Caligula, a marriage arranged by Tiberius himself to keep the Silani close. Yet, even after his daughter died in childbirth on the island of Capri, Marcus Silanus continued to treat Caligula like his son-in-law. Claudius did not meet them in the atrium, nor did he rise when they entered. He remained seated in the garden, wrapped in a blanket, a half-empty cup of wine at his side. Only when his steward, Antonius Pallas, announced them did he look up. Silanus offered a bow of the head. The others followed suit. Their robes were crisp, their expressions measured. Not one of them looked as though they had been weeping in the temples that morning. "We come to offer our concern," Silanus said, his voice steady, "and to see how you fare in these uncertain times." Claudius nodded politely. "I fare as well as can be expected," he answered, with Rome praying more loudly than she breathes. A few of the men behind Silanus smiled, not quite nervously, but not warmly either. "We know your loyalty to the imperial house," Silanus said, taking a step forward, "and to your nephew. You have ever served the house of Germanicus with dignity." Claudius didn't answer. He simply lifted the cup of wine to his lips and imbibed. After a brief hesitation, Silanus spoke again. "You are, of course, also kin to young Gemellus, the grandson of Tiberius and the son of your late sister." Claudius felt the air shift, just slightly. "We hear the emperor's condition is improving," he said. "Then again, we hear many things." Another senator spoke then, a man Claudius had known for years, but whose name he could never recall until it was too late to use. "We do not speak of disloyalty," the man said quickly, "only of prudence. It's been nearly 2 months. Rome cannot abide uncertainty." "Are you saying the emperor still lies silent?" Claudius asked softly with barely a stutter. "How can this be? I heard you so generously offer to fight in the arena, if only the gods would spare him." The senator gave no response, merely flushed. Silanus broke the awkward silence that followed. "Claudius, please understand. The Senate has an obligation to secure the transfer of power in the event the Emperor Gaius should—" He trailed off, unwilling to speak the words. He cleared his throat, then continued. "Tiberius named his grandson, Gemellus, joint heir, and Gaius confirmed that position by adopting him." Claudius nodded. "Yes, Tiberius named him in his will, the document you couldn't wait to nullify the moment he was dead. And why? Because Gemellus was a boy." Claudius paused and then added, "But that was 6 months ago. Surely he's mature enough by now." One of the senators shifted uncomfortably. Another took a step backward, as if to disassociate himself from the obvious insult to Claudius, who was old enough. But Silanus held his ground. "If the worst were to happen," he said, "it falls to men like us to ensure continuity. If you were to lend your voice—" "My voice," Claudius cut in, the stutter now deliberate, "was not wanted when you crowned Gaius in glory. Why would it be needed now?" He raised his cup in salute towards the men, bidding them good day. But as they turned to leave, Silanus glanced back, just long enough to meet Claudius's eyes. His look said it all. The Senate was ready to make its move. Claudius noticed him first in the forum, striding at the head of a praetorian detail. His eyes were fixed, but his face looked unusually pale. For weeks Rome had wondered. The prefect had vanished from public view on the very night Caligula collapsed. Now here he was again, moving briskly as though nothing had changed, but everything had. Claudius was summoned, and Macro received him in a shaded portico of the Palatium, apart from the household and the Senate, but not in secret. Not quite. "You've been missed," Claudius began, trying to set the conversation's tone. "The city has prayed without guidance, and the Senate grows nervous." Macro offered no smile. He stepped forward, close enough that Claudius could smell the sweat trapped beneath his leather cuirass. "My duty is to the security of the emperor," he said, "and to the continuity of his rule, should that security become vulnerable." Claudius felt the shift. Not threatening, not yet, but certainly practiced, rehearsed. "Caligula is still alive," Claudius reminded him, testing the statement. Macro nodded. "Alive, yes, but fevered still and speaking in gibberish, if his sister is to be believed. According to Drusilla, he eats, then forgets that he's eaten. He wakes in the night screaming first of Augustus, then of the underworld." Claudius did not react, not visibly, but he too had heard the whispers that haunted Macro. By now the entire Palatine had. Macro continued, "And now every corridor whispers of an empress." He stepped even closer. "I had an agreement with Gaius, a binding one. I was to become prefect of Egypt." Macro's voice dropped. "Now he names Drusilla to succeed him, a woman, as though she were his wife. That wasn't part of the agreement." Claudius's brow lifted, a question on his face. "Gaius in Rome, myself in Egypt, Ennia between us," Macro explained. just as your grandmother Octavia once bridged Augustus and Marcus Antonius." He exhaled through his nose, frustrated. That was the plan. Gaius had visions for Egypt. My role was to prepare the East for his arrival. Claudius tilted his head just slightly. Suddenly, the divine honours heaped upon Caligula's sisters, the temples, the statues, the titles, all made sense. In Egypt, a pharaoh was not merely ruler, he was a god. And like Isis to her brother Osiris, Drusilla would be his goddess. Macro's gaze drifted out toward the hazy skyline. I carried Gaius from Capri. I placed the signet ring in his hand. I made him Caesar. He paused, jaw tight. And now he thinks to cast me aside? He trailed off, then looked hard at Claudius before continuing. "I need your voice," he said, "to support my claim to Egypt. You are the emperor's uncle, the brother of Germanicus. If the Senate begins to sway, if they begin to rally behind Gemellus, I will need your help to convince the Senate to honor the arrangements made by Gaius." Claudius blinked slowly. "And if Caligula recovers?" Macro didn't flinch. His voice held steady. "Then nothing changes, and nothing needs to be said." For a moment, neither man moved. Then Macro placed a sealed scroll on the table between them. "His handwriting," he said, "from Capri, before the fever, and before Drusilla." Claudius didn't touch it. Not yet. "I trust," Macro began, taking a step back, "you will do what is right. I'm sure I needn't remind you that I still command the loyalty of the Praetorian Guard." Then he turned and walked into the shadows of the portico, leaving Claudius alone with the seal and the silence. The scroll sat untouched. On his way home, Claudius hadn't broken the seal. He didn't need to. He could see the date scratched beneath Macro's wax. He shivered, not from the November chill, but from the uncertainty of it all. Was it coincidence that Caligula and Macro should sign a contract on the very day Tiberius died? Claudius closed his eyes, letting the whispers he'd heard over time sort themselves into place. Rumours had made it off the island of Capri that Tiberius had not actually died, at least not until after both Caligula and Macro entered his bedchamber, alone. When they emerged, the death was formally announced. Claudius opened his eyes and leaned forward, elbows resting on the marble table. He looked again at the scroll, Macro's seal still unbroken. Why did they all come to him? Macro, who may have murdered Tiberius, and the Senate, ready to rally behind a boy. Each wanted his voice in support of another, yet neither considered him for the Principate. He limped, he stuttered, he had no military experience, as if Gemellus had more. A few moments later, hurried footsteps approached. It was Pallas. Claudius picked up the scroll, holding it out to his approaching steward. "See that it's returned to the house of Suetonius Macro." Pallas accepted the scroll with a bow, then spoke in a low, urgent tone. "The Emperor Gaius has risen."